Welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about surveys and samples. Let's get started. So one of the most important applications of statistics is collecting information. Statistical studies are done for many purposes. Let's look at a couple of examples. Maybe you would use statistics to find out more about animal behaviors or to determine which presidential candidate is favored. You probably see that a lot. To figure out what type of chip product is most popular. To determine the gas consumption of cars. They're really all around us. In most cases, as we talked about on our last video, it's not possible to survey every single person in a given population, so a sample is taken. Now, it's essential that the sample is a representative sample of the population being studied. So the two types of sampling methods we're going to discuss today are one, random sampling and stratified sampling. So you might want to pause your video and write these terms down because they're pretty important when it comes to statistics. Random samples, let's talk about that first. Random sampling is a method in which people are chosen out of the blue. In a true random sample, everyone in the population must have the same chance of being chosen. It's important that each person in the population has a chance of being picked. Now, stratified sampling is a method actively seeking to pull people from many different backgrounds. The population is first divided into different categories or strata, and the number of members in each category is determined. Now, sample size. In order to lessen the chance of a biased result, the sample size must be large enough. The larger the sample size is, the more precise the estimate is going to be. However, the larger the sample size, the more expensive and time-consuming the statistical study becomes. Let's look at an example. For a class assignment, you've been asked to find if students in your school are planning to attend university after graduating high school. Students can respond with yes, no, or undecided. How will you choose those you wish to interview if you want your results to be reliable? Well, the solution is the stratified sampling method would be the best option. By randomly picking a certain number of students in each grade, you'll get the most accurate results. Let's talk a little bit about biased samples. If the sample ends up with one or more subgroups that are either overrepresented or underrepresented, then we say the sample is biased, and we've been talking about that a lot over the last few lessons. We would not expect the results of a biased sample to represent the entire population, so it's really important to avoid selecting a biased sample. Let's also talk about cherry picking. So some samples may deliberately seek a biased sample in order to obtain a particular viewpoint. So for example, if a group of students were trying to petition the school to allow eating candy in the classroom, they might only survey students immediately before lunchtime when students are hungry. That would be an example of cherry picking. The practice of polling only those who you believe will support your cause, that is what we call cherry picking. All right, here's another important term. Many surveys have a non-response bias. In this case, a survey that's simply handed out gains few responses when compared to the number of surveys given out. People who are either too busy or simply not interested would be excluded from the results. Non-response bias may be reduced by conducting face-to-face interviews. Okay, here's another important term, self-selected respondents who tend to have stronger opinions on subjects than others and are more motivated to respond may also cause bias. So for this reason, phone-in and online polls, they also tend to be poor representations of the overall population. Even though it appears that both sides are responding, the poll may disproportionately represent extreme viewpoints from both sides while ignoring the more moderate opinions that may in fact be the majority view. So self-selected polls are generally regarded as unscientific. Another example here. Determine whether the following survey is biased. Explain your reasoning. Okay, there we go. Asking people shopping at a farmer's market if they think locally grown fruits and vegetables are healthier than supermarket fruits and vegetables. Well, here's the solution. This would definitely be a bias sample because people shopping at a farmer's market are generally interested in buying fresher fruits and vegetables than a regular supermarket provides. So the study can be improved by interviewing an equal number of people coming out of a supermarket or by interviewing people in a more neutral environment like the post office, something like that. So let's talk a little bit more about biased questions. So although your sample may be a good representation of the population, the way questions are worded in the survey can still provoke a biased result. And this is really important to look at carefully. There are several ways that we can identify biased questions. 1, they may use polarizing language, words, and phrases that people associate with emotions. So look at this example. How much of your time do you waste on TV every week? You can see the word waste. That is definitely a biased question. 2, they may refer to a majority or a supposed authority. So for example, would you agree with the American Heart and Lung Association that smoking is bad for your health? So they are using the authority of the American Heart and Lung Association, and that's written in a biased way. 3, they may be phrased so as to suggest the person asking the question already knows the answer to be true or false. So for example, you wouldn't want criminals free to roam the streets, would you? Definitely a biased question in the way that it's worded. 4, they may be phrased in an ambiguous way, often with double negatives. Let's take a look at that. This is definitely confusing. Let's take a look at one with double negatives. Do you disagree with the people who oppose the ban on smoking in public places? There's a double negative there, disagree and oppose, and it confuses the person who's answering the question. So let's talk about how to design and conduct a survey. The method in which you design and conduct the survey, it's crucial to its accuracy. Now, surveys are a set of questions in which the sample answers. The data is compiled to form results or findings. And when you're designing a survey, you want to be really aware of the following recommendations. And these you might want to write down in your math notebook. 1, determine the goal of your survey. What question do you want to answer? 2, identify the sample population. Who will you interview? 3, choose an interviewing method. Face-to-face interview, phone interview, or self-administered paper survey, or an internet survey, for example. 4, you conduct the interview and collect the information. And then 5, analyze the results by making graphs and drawing conclusions. Now, here, let's talk about different ways that we can conduct surveys. First, there are face-to-face interviews. Now, the benefits of these is that there's fewer misunderstood questions, there's a high response rate, and additional information can be collected from respondents. Now, the risks of face-to-face interviews is that it's very time-consuming, it can be quite expensive, and it can be biased based upon the attitude or the appearance of the surveyor. Then there are self-administered surveys. Now, the benefits of these, respondent can complete on his or her free time. It's less expensive than face-to-face interviews, and the anonymity causes more honest responses. The risks, lower response rate. Let's look at an example. Martha wants to construct a survey that shows which sports students at her school like to play the most. 1, list the goal of the survey. 2, what population sample should she interview? 3, how should she administer the survey? And 4, create a data collection sheet that she can use to record her results. So the goal of the survey is to find the answer to the question, which sports do students at Martha's school like to play the most? So, first of all, a sample of the population would include a random sample of the student population at her school. A good strategy would be to randomly select students using dice or a random number generator as they walk into an all-school assembly, let's say. 2, face-to-face interviews are a good choice in this case since the survey consists of only one question which can be quickly answered and recorded. 3, in order to collect the data to this simple survey, Martha can design a data collection sheet. Okay, so there are several ways to display data. These graphs are also useful when you're displaying survey results. It makes it really easy to read and understand and to draw conclusions. Survey data can be displayed as a bar graph, a histogram, a pie chart, a tally sheet, a box and whisker plot, a stem and leaf plot. In the method in which you choose to display your data, it's going to depend upon your survey results and to whom you plan to present the data. All right, everyone, that does it for this lesson. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.